go and you have a private workout with the club and they bring in all their decision makers, they're truly interested and intrigued by who you are and what you are. This is what's happening. In those private workouts, the reason why they opted not to go to his pro day, because I want you to run our routes. I want to call my plays that I'm going to be giving you so you can call them in the huddle and then run it. Drop back the way I want you to drop back, go through the progressions the way that I want you to go through them, and then I'm going to take you into the classroom, have you call the plays, draw it up on the board, let me see how you go through it, and then I'll teach you how we go through it. The reason why the Cleveland Browns are doing this is because we heard the Titans say, you know what, the price just went up basically on the first round, on the first pick of the draft.
That it is tradable for.
Like, but it is exactly.
It is possible. Like when the Bears had the #1 pick, it was not. It was.
It
was not for
we're
sale.
Going to get
it was not. It seemed to me like the Titans did a thing where it's like you don't really want to sell your house, but you put it on the market for double and see if someone's willing. Like, so where if the Browns were willing to give up something like what they gave up to get Deshaun Watson to get Cam Ward, I bet they could go get him.
Yeah, so they wanted to see him, all the things that we got to see in this pro day and we're enamored with, the rollout, all those things. They saw that, and now they're like, okay, let's have him do this. After watching all those things that they watched him do on the pro day, now they're going to get down to the nuts and bolts of who they are, what he's going to have to do in that system, how he's going to regurgitate the play calls, all those things. They're getting very nuanced about the process because if we're going to draft you, if we're going to move up, they know it's going to cost them quite a bit. If we're going to move up to go and say, you're going to be our guy, we're going to go get you, we want to see what we're really getting into with nobody else even having a say on how you perform.
I agree with everything you said, but I think this is due diligence. Because reportedly, the same article, they're going to meet with Jackson Dart. They might have a private workout with a couple other quarterbacks. So I think they're just trying to get the best look at him. He is certainly more available than Caleb was. I mean, so if they fall in love with him, yeah, they could move up and try to trade for him. But I just think it's more so due diligence because they're going to meet with a lot of guys privately.
So I agree with you, but I think those other guys they are meeting with privately in case they don't take a quarterback in round one.
Yeah, I agree.
That for, you know what I mean, what they could possibly do later in the draft. This, I don't think anyone believes that Cam Ward is going to be there at #2. So the reason this is noteworthy to me is, yes, it would be irresponsible for them, like famously a team that previously traded up #2, the Bears with Mitch Trubisky, they didn't even work out or meet with Mahomes. And Bears fans still can't, it's the same draft, can't get over it. So they have to meet with him. But I do think that it is on the board of possibilities that we hear the Browns traded 2 and next year's 1 for 1-1. Like, and that the Titans, and that the new Titans GM is like, hey, Brian Callahan, good luck, buddy. But with whatever quarterback we have, but we are, we're adding Abdul Carter. We're going to take our chance on the quarterback next year and go about it, which I don't think would be a bad way to run a team if I were running the Titans.
No, I also think we've got some GMs kind of in Hail Mary mode.
Yeah. Well, it is true. We do have a lot of GMs and coaches, quite frankly, that are in kind of Hail Mary mode because it seems like a lot of people are trying to, save their jobs from all different angles. Is this something? Is this nothing? Brew kind of took what I was going to say because I was going to say, listen, you never really know how much something is. It's just impossible to know. But I think at the very least, this should help. This should make Cleveland fans really, really happy because they are actually truly doing their due diligence. And that's all you could ask from your team. At the end of the day, that's all you can ask is that they actually put in the work and that they're actually doing their job and making sure that they're doing their due diligence, that they're doing the research. You only have so much resources, time and energy and money to be able to do all this type of stuff. And so the fact that they're actually doing what needs to be done and they're evaluating, they're saying, hey, is there actually a big difference between Cam Ward and, and Dart and, any of these other guys? And do we want to trade up? Is this guy really special or is he not? What's the story here? Maybe we want to draft a quarterback next year because that seems to be the big debate is that the quarterback draft next year seems to be a lot more lot more of a prized pool than this year. It doesn't mean that there's not any other quarterbacks who could be great this year, but it just seems like that seems to be really the draft that a lot of these guys are after, which then also opens up the door for other opportunities though. So it's interesting. It's definitely it's tough. It's so wildly unpredictable, and they kind of said this as well, right? Like we knew that the Bears were not trading the pick, and we had a pretty high level of confidence that they were going to get Caleb, which then you knew the Commanders were going to get Jaden. Like it just seemed so much more predictable where things were going to go here, and I don't believe we necessarily have that right now. The real question is how much should the Cleveland Browns give up for Cam Ward if that's what they want him, if they want him number one, and they have to trade up to do so. That is probably the more interesting question, and that's why you do this due diligence. And I think that's the benefit of having a Kevin Stefanski throughout this process, who you haven't really had throughout this process of having him as your head coach. This is definitely very much like Kevin Stefanski, and in Kevin Stefanski you trust, right? Like this is why you pay him. This is why he's the expert of this aspect of your team. You let him take charge here, right? You let him kind of really guide you through this process of what can we do to finally get this thing going, right? Especially if you're the Cleveland Browns, if you're the suit and ties, you're like, we believe that you're an awesome offensive head coach, man. We believe that you've been able to do a lot, especially considering the circumstances that you've been given. That if we can just get the quarterback right, and if we can also be fortunate enough to finally get the quarterback right, and get him in the draft, rookie deal, etc., like, we can actually be a great team. Like we got, the hardest thing is the coach and the quarterback, and and we believe we have the coach. So we just have to figure out the quarterback. And, what does that mean exactly? Does that mean that we can get a quarterback a little bit later in the draft? And we see something more, kind of like how Sean Payton saw Bo Nix or something like that, which wasn't necessarily a second round pick, but, not top 3 either. It's just tricky. The draft is tricky. Because it's hard when you don't have all the information and you don't know what the actual feelings surround. For all we know, Stefanski's kind of like, I don't really know about Ward. I don't know. I'm not so sure, right? And it's just like I'm not saying he's saying that, but we just don't know. We don't know what his gut feelings are on all of this type of stuff, and and like I said, we never will. But the fact that they're just doing their due diligence and putting in the work, and they're actually taking this seriously. Like when you see other teams that don't do this type of stuff, the teams that need quarterbacks that are making bizarre decisions, like let's try to get Aaron Rodgers, or how about Justin Fields, and because the Browns could have went out and got Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers, and they didn't do any of that nonsense. They're like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So I think this is incredibly encouraging and positive for the Cleveland Browns, but it is a high pressure situation. It is a high-pressure situation. You don't want to trade up, get Cam Ward. You'd have to give a bunch for him and have him not be who you want him to be, have another quarterback potentially be better a little bit later in the draft that surprises people. And I don't know if the Browns are even remotely considering this, where they're just kind of like, no, we'll punt till next year and go in that draft. Doesn't feel like that, but like I said, I think it's a tricky situation if you're not in love with if you need a quarterback, if you desperately need a quarterback, but you're not in love with any quarterback, should you still draft a quarterback? I've never heard a satisfying answer, honestly. I always hear kind of a generic, and it depends on what side you're asking, whether it's an ex-player or someone who's was the director of player personnel for the Ravens from 2005 to 2012 or something, right? You always get some sort of kind of generic, answer that never really feels satisfactory to me. Especially because I think sometimes the way how a team is really feeling, they'll never really say some of the things out loud that they're really thinking. So yeah, I don't know. It's this. I think the media as a whole can't even figure out how much they love this quarterback draft class right now. Honestly, it's like people are kind of like, Shador, is he good? Is he not? There's a lot of talk about Cleveland having Shador Sanders and that he could have a lot of success and he can run Stefanski's offense. And now maybe they want Cam Ward and they could trade up. And before it was like, no, Cam Ward's definitely going to go to the Titans, you know. And Dan Orlovsky was kind of like, Titans, don't overthink this, just get Cam Ward, let's go. And now they're kind of like, the door's open, maybe we'll trade him. And it's just, I don't know. Honestly, and that's why I don't want to have too strong of takes, like really unpacking of like the Cleveland Browns got to get Cam Ward or Shador Sanders. It's just, unless I felt like more strongly, unless we knew with a really strong degree of confidence Cam Ward was going to the Titans, and now the real talk was that, you know, he's Shador Sanders is going to the Cleveland Browns. Like, it would seem like a little bit more specific and a more high chance of happening, so it would seem more worthwhile to discuss. But at this point, it's like, you know, I could post this clip and then tomorrow it could be announced firmly the Tennessee Titans have zero desire to trade the pick. They're not trading it. You know, that door has been closed. And then it's just like, well, great, we just talked all about Cam Ward and all of that. So but I am curious what Cleveland Brown fans want to do in this situation. I don't know. I continue to struggle with all of this offseason. I can't wait for the draft to happen, honestly. I just want to already know what happens and then discuss the aftermath rather than trying to discuss, oh, they're going to have to trade a first and a third and a this and then that. And it's just like, because again, man, it's just all farts and whistles. Nobody has any idea. Truly, nobody has any idea. So, you know, it's a lot of made up mumbo jumbo. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Cleveland Browns doing their due diligence? You know, do you think they're going to make a play for Ward? You know, how aggressive do you think they're going to be in this draft? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.